Today's topic is how to make your writing tighter. And if you've got 5 minutes, I've got 5 tips to help you get there. I'm pretty sure that if you've been writing for any length of time and you've sent your writing to any kind of an editor or a publisher, you've probably heard that you need to make your writing tighter. Every writer hears this from time to time. I taught writing for years to university students, and I used to tell them, in order to make your writing as tight as possible, take your best 1,000 words and turn it into your best 500 words, keeping the essence of the writing. That's what it means to tighten your writing, to get rid of all of the excess words, sentences, and phrases that get in the way of you telling your story. I guess before we get into those tips, it might be worthwhile thinking about why it's important to tighten your writing. Tight writing compels a reader through what you've written, whether it's a story in a novel, whether it's a memoir, a nonfiction piece, a magazine article, your blog. If the writing is loose, people get lost in it and they get bored. If there are too many excessive words, the message gets lost. So it's important for you to consider whether or not each word that you use is really important to the story and the forward motion of what you want to tell. Well, tip number 1 is to use fewer prepositional phrases. I'm sure for some people, your eyes just glaze over when you start to think about grammar rules. But first of all, we need to make sure you understand what a prepositional phrase is. A prepositional phrase consists of a preposition, an article, and a noun. Now, what are some common prepositions? Some of the most common are in, on, over, between, of. And these are the prepositions that begin those phrases that are not always necessary in your writing. For example, the phrase, "the opinion of the manager is," well, the prepositional phrase there is "of the manager." And it would be better if you were to say simply, "the manager's opinion." That happens to be one of my particular problems, that I have to go through my writing afterwards and get rid of all of those things. Now, some of your grammar checker programs will pick those up. Pay close attention to those when they pick them up, but be mindful of the fact that they won't pick up all of them. Tip number 2, eliminate filler words. I have 2 filler words that sprinkle throughout all my writing as I write. Those 2 are really and actually. Now, it's interesting because when you're writing dialogue, you can get away with those filler words because that's the way people speak. But when you're writing the narrative portion of your pieces, whether it's nonfiction, fiction, doesn't matter what you're writing, you need to get rid of those excessive fillers. Here are some of those filler words that you might get rid of immediately. Let me see. Totally, completely, absolutely, obviously. Those are words that you can probably cross out immediately, and that tightens up your prose. I'm going to give some suggestions on my blog that goes along with this of some references that you can go to and see a complete list of the most common filler words that writers tend to use. Well, my next tip is use strong standalone words. Don't use weak words that you have to add an adverb to make it the word you want. For example, if something is extremely funny, it's hilarious. The word hilarious is a much stronger word than using extremely funny. Tip number 4 is remove redundancies. If you use some kind of a grammar checker program like Grammarly, it probably calls these tautologies. And this means saying the same thing twice with 2 words that really mean the same thing. So one of the words can be omitted. Some examples, saying things like my personal opinion. Well, you don't need to say personal opinion because your opinion is personal. So my opinion makes the writing tighter. How about the term advance planning? Well, planning means to do something in advance. So you don't need to say advance planning, you just need to say planning. How about cacophony of sound? The word cacophony means sound. So if you say there was a cacophony, that's what it means. To say of sound is redundant. How about things like cancel out? just have to cancel something. Fall down. Fall means to go down. Actually, I've used that one a number of times and I have to go back through and take out the down part. Oh, and here's another one. Final outcome. The outcome of something is final. You don't really need to say final outcome. So when you're trying to tighten up your writing, those are words that can disappear. Now, my final tip for you is a tip for tightening your writing, but it's also a tip for just improving your writing in general and also for developing your personal voice. And that is this: read everything that you write out loud. Now, years ago, we had a dog for about 14 years, and our dog used to sit beside me in a plushy sort of upholstered chair, and he'd sleep a lot, except when I'd pick up my writing and I'd read to him. Now, he was a great critic because he didn't really say anything, but the point is that you don't want to be reading out loud to your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your child, particularly not another writer friend. This is for you. You read it out loud for yourself and you listen. Because when you do that, you can often hear those excessive words that you really don't need. I'd like to give Stephen King the last word. He said, "The road to hell is paved with adverbs." I think we should pay attention to him. So that's all that I have to say today, and I think it's time for me to get back to my manuscript and perhaps do a little editing and get rid of some of those redundancies and excess verbiage that I tend to put in some of my writing and that every writer puts in their writing from time to time. Remember, your first draft can be rubbish. Subscribe to Write, Fix, Repeat, and maybe I can help you improve your writing knowledge and skills. 5 tips at a time.